Welcome into Couch Coaches. I'm your host, Charlie McGowan, and alongside I have special guest, host of the Halftime Sports Talk Show, Reese Kinder. Reese, how are you doing?
Doing great. Just watched some Double A baseball. Actually, an hour or two ago, went down to Columbus. Watched the Klingstones their opening game down there in Columbus. Very nice atmosphere. But yeah, doing good so far this week. A lot of sports news to cover.
Yeah, no kidding. We got a pretty nice slate here on this nice Tuesday afternoon. Starting off with the Nico Iamaleava, I don't even want to try to say his last name situation. It is absolutely absurd. If you haven't heard, Nico has just recently entered the transfer portal from Tennessee, and a lot of background information is kind of just floated to the top of the sporting world. And just initially, Reese, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, just it's overall it's crazy to think that a guy like this would be going to a different school. And honestly, my thoughts on it too is you're kind of acting like an NFL player here. I mean, we
Mm,
see NFL players constantly contract negotiation stuff. They hold out of practice during OTAs and stuff like that during the summer before preseason even starts. But like, you're a college player and you can't be doing this stuff. Especially since you want to make a name for yourself, and now you probably ruin that chance to even get in the draft, possibly with you know ruining your career, holding out of practice just because you didn't get enough NIL money. I mean, you could have at least
right.
held off for a few weeks and possibly talked it over with the coaches and gotten a better deal.
Yeah, apparently, sources have said Nico asked for $4 million prior to his college football playoff game against Ohio State, which they eventually just got pounded in Buckeye Land back in December. But Coach Heupel has just kind of kind of has gone rogue on the media, like not holding back much against Nico, saying quotes like "No one's bigger than the program," which is true. It's just absurd that a player would for ask for that kind of money in this situation. I kind of it kind of begs the question. I like what you said about pro athletes, but does it beg the question that is NIL truly hurting the sport of college football and college sports as a whole? Reese, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think it's going to come to a point to where you're going to have to go back to, transfer portal. You're going to have to go back to two transfers is the limit. And then NIL, I mean, you can keep it, but it's going to get to an extent to where you're going to have a cap on it probably.
Right.
And it's not going to be as fun to watch. I mean, we've seen it already. March Madness this year was all right. I mean, we're Auburn fans. We made it to the Final Four, but it was not the same feeling you get when you watch One Shining Moment and see a 16 seed being a one or a 15 seed being a two, because that didn't happen this year, and
Mm,
it's because of NIL money. You get teams that stack up and get big in basketball, and then in football you have teams that just pay players. Basically, they give them cars to stay on teams at this point, and I mean, I like what some of the coaches have said about how basically during the offseason, this is why spring games probably aren't going to happen anymore either, is because you don't know what your team's going to be like, because the spring transfer portal opens up right as spring practice is finishing up. And basically, you got guys transferring in and out of schools during spring practice, and it's really hurting the sport in general. I mean, not smaller sports like baseball and softball that don't get as much recognition, but are kind of bigger sports to some people. But the sports we like football and basketball, are definitely hurting from this NIL situation.
yeah, it definitely. I mean, I like what you said about March Madness. I mean, just a great example. It was 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, and then it was like all 1 and 2 seeds, with the exception Texas Tech, which was just a 3 seed.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just stack teams with throwing money, throwing a number at them, and I agree. It kind of hurts the sport, and it'll be interesting to see how NCAA, if they even can put some kind of limitation on the NIL as a whole. Um, but looking back on the specific Nico situation, uh, from what we've heard, there's not really many teams that are too interested in this in this quarterback that doesn't seem to be thinking very straight. We've heard teams like North Carolina, USC, or UCLA. UCF has been in the mix as well.
Actually, heard
Um,
Tulane today.
yeah, I
Tulane was
heard
in the
about
mix,
that
but
as
then they
well.
backed out.
Reese, where do you think he would land if any team ends up actually taking this hothead?
I really don't know because honestly, after what he's done, even Paul Feinbaum today, I listened and he said that he urges a lot of schools to stay away from Nico, and I would too. I mean, Dan Lanning's the one that I don't know if you saw this, but Dan Lanning's the one that pointed this out that Nico was tampering with other schools trying to
Mm,
get NIL deals and trying to figure out which one was the best, and he was potentially going to enter the transfer portal anyway. And then Dan Lanning contacted Josh Heupel, and Josh Heupel figured out really quick and talked to Nico, and Nico got a little upset about that, and they got into obviously what is going on now as the altercation between these two, and Nico has now been released from the team. And honestly, I don't know what school's going to pick him up at this point. He might have to go to a small school and like
yeah,
restart his football career if this is like the way he's going to do it, because I don't think even a team like Ohio State who won a national championship, I don't think a guy like Ryan Day is going to want a guy like that on his team.
right.
I mean, I just feel like there's not going to be any big name teams go after Nico after this situation comes out. Not even an SEC school will. I mean, I haven't seen anything like Alabama or Georgia pursuing a guy like Nico at all. So I don't see where Nico's going to end up. And we're going to have to wait a while, I think, to figure out where that's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he lands up. It's hard for me to believe that he lands at an SEC school, saying that he would probably have to sit a year, since it is that spring transfer portal window.
Yeah.
But I mean, he could very well sit that year and kind of regroup if he really wanted to, because you can kind of tell Nico has an ego about him where he probably doesn't want to go to a Group of Five school. So if I were to bet right now, I think I would put money on UCLA just because they're having some quarterback trouble. Um, but it really could. It's 50-50. North Carolina has really shown no interest in him, even though there's been a lot of speculation around Bill Belichick and whether he's going to go after Nico.
I think Belichick has his quarterback already.
Right.
I can't remember who it is exactly, but I think he's kind of just going to try to rebuild that team as best as he can. He's going to do what Dion did with
Yeah.
Colorado and just keep all most of the players that he did.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. Yeah, that I thought that was an interesting storyline to start off this show with. But we could
Yeah.
move